I just want a fair chance, man. Call the game how it's supposed to be called, and that's it. And I'll live with the results. But especially we all know what happened, a few years back with Kawhi, like that can change an entire series. Just call the game how it's supposed to be called, and we'll live with the results. And it's plain and simple.
All right, what is going on, everybody, and welcome. It is week 7 of the weekly Heated Sports podcast, and we're just going to address the obvious here. Justin, why am I looking directly at your face right now? And we're just going to be honest, we kind of just did some brainstorming, and we're going to change things up a little bit. So I'm going to be the weekly host here every single week. We're going to get started. You're going to get to look at my beautiful face to start every episode. And we're just going to keep things rolling with the rest of the Heated Sports team. So you guys have met most of them already throughout previous episodes. If you guys have been watching those other episodes, you've known that Zach has kind of been the right-hand man. He's been on every episode with us. And don't worry, because he's still going to be a really integral part of that rotation with us here. So you're going to see him on a lot. He's not going to be on this week. We're going to get Harrison on a little later, talking a lot of NBA playoff updates. But Zach's going to be on in the near future, and he'll be on for a lot of episodes here to come. So don't worry about that at all. But we're just going to get kind of right down to everything. So we had a few more heated questions that were submitted here. So again, thank you for those who submitted those questions. And we're really interested in hearing feedback from you guys, hearing any topics or questions that you guys would want answered. So I'm going to give my takes on a few of them here, and just let me know if you guys agree or if you think I'm just a complete idiot, which definitely happens on occasion. So we'll kind of just get rolling with those. The first one here is, will Kawhi stay in Toronto? And my answer for that one is going to be a fat TBD, because honestly, I don't even think that he knows what he's going to do. For me, I think it really just comes down to what's going to happen in this year's playoffs. I mean, obviously they're playing the Sixers right now. As we're recording this, it's tied 1-1, but I mean, there'll be a game 3, game 4 by the time this is going live. But it's really going to come down to what he wants and how the Raptors actually perform in the playoffs. I will say, if they get upset by the Sixers in this series, I think he's 100% gone. But other than that, if they make a little bit of a run, I'm looking at like 30% he stays, 70% he's leaving. It's tough. I mean, the clear destination that people are talking about are the LA Clippers, and I think that would be a great fit for him. I think Doc Rivers would be a really good coach for him, but I mean, it's really tough to say right now. He's a very interesting NBA superstar. He does not show any emotion, whether that's on the court or off it. I mean, no one really knows what that guy is going through right now. I'm sure he's thinking about it, but I'd be shocked if he actually had a decision in place. So that's going to be interesting down the stretch. We've mentioned in a previous episode a few weeks ago just how crazy this NBA offseason is going to be. So I'm definitely interested to see where Kawhi is going to land. And I mean, yeah, he could shock the world and stay in Toronto if they make a little playoff run here this year. Maybe getting a finals appearance or even winning the finals, which some people have them doing. So it's going to be interesting. But yeah, right now I definitely think it's tough to say. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see on that one. Another question I'm going to address here has to do with the NHL playoffs, and I actually like this question because I'm not a huge NHL guy, so it caused me to do a little bit of research, and we haven't really addressed it too much on the show. So we had a question saying that, do the Blues have enough talent to win the Stanley Cup? And that's a team that's kind of surprised a lot of people in the playoffs so far. Like I said, I'm not a huge NHL guy, so I'm not going to go in a whole lot of detail on a topic that I'm not like totally certain on. But, I mean, they have the momentum right now. They're tied with Dallas in the series as it stands today. I think the first step just has to be getting past Dallas. I mean, that's going to be a tough series in general. So if they can get past that, I could see them making a run, getting to that Stanley Cup. Winning it is going to be a whole nother story because Carolina is completely on fire right now. The Hurricanes are looking for a sweep here in the semifinals, and it wouldn't surprise me if they do that. I mean, they're playing ridiculous hockey, so I think Carolina would be the biggest competition once they reach the Stanley Cup if that would happen for the Blues. But yeah, I'm excited to see it. I'm actually watching a little bit more hockey more than I normally do, so that's going to be a team that I'm going to look to watch a lot. Yeah, so that's all the heated questions that I'm going to address here for now. Again, we want to keep this as like a weekly segment to start off the show. So again, if you have any topics, any suggestions, or any just direct questions for me, I'm happy to hear them. We read them over every week, and we always pick a couple to get on the show. So feel free to drop any comments, DM us on social media, and we'll get as many of those addressed as we can. The next segment we're going to do and keep this as a consistent segment is just going to be addressing the articles that we have on our Heated Sports website. So if you guys aren't already familiar, we have 3 weekly articles that go out Monday, Wednesday, and Friday nights with a few extra ones sprinkled in every once in a while. We have 3 main writers in Harrison, Zach, and Kevin, and those guys are putting out great content for us on our website. So be sure to check those out. So I'm just going to kind of address the most recent ones here and just kind of give my takes on them since I'm not doing a whole lot of writing right now myself. So the first article that I'm going to address here is Zach's article that he put out last week, and that article was on Albert Pujols. And honestly, even if you're not a baseball fan, that name should sound a little familiar because the guy's been around forever, and he's going to go down as one of the all-time greats in baseball history. And the reason the Pujols is kind of back in the news right now is because he just recently passed Barry Bonds and is now the sole owner of the third place on the all-time RBI list at 1,997. And that number is like completely mind-boggling. And the basic like topic of Zach's article surrounding Albert Pujols is he a top 5 player of all time when it goes when his career comes to a close in a few years, like presumably. Where do you rank him on the all-time list in baseball? I mean, looking at his career numbers right now, 302 batting average, 637 home runs, and that 1,997 RBIs. Easily going to hit that 2,000 mark here. Might even pass that by the time this goes live here in the next couple days. But, I mean, yeah, if you're going down the list of MLB greats, I mean, Pujols has to be up there on that list. Zach actually has him in his top 5, which I don't know if I totally agree with, but he did make some pretty decent arguments. I mean, when you're even looking and trying to make like a top 5 list, what all are you considering? Are you looking for any sport, for anything really? Are you looking just at the sole performance? Like for Albert Pujols, are you just looking at those career numbers, or are you looking at some of the things that he's doing off the field? Albert Pujols has been doing a lot off the field. He has a lot of charitable organizations. He's done a lot of charity work, and he's really just been an overall great image for the brand of baseball, for the sport of baseball. He's really just been doing a lot. Really, no negative like news around him. Really, no negative stories, anything like that. He's really just been a great ball player, and he's done a lot for the league these past like almost several decades. He's been in the league that long. So, again, I mean, Zach put a really good article out, gave a lot more specific details about what all he's been doing, so be sure to check that out. As far as the other articles that we've been putting out here recently, again, we have Harrison and we have Kevin. Both of those guys are very, very well experienced in specific sports. So Harrison's been our NBA, been our basketball guy. Again, he's been on the last couple episodes. He'll be on here again a little bit later in this episode as well. But he's just been really keeping us up to date on a lot of the NBA playoffs. So I'm not going to go in too much detail with his last article because pretty much we're just going to talk about it here in a little bit. We have a lot of things we're going to go over there. And with Kevin, again, Kevin's been a guy, I've known him here through work here these last year or so, and he's just a huge NFL expert. He's been doing a lot of NFL articles for us, really giving us a tease so far of like the NFL free agency that happened here this last month. NFL draft just wrapped up last week, so we did a little bit of a heated sports mock draft last week, so that's what his article was about. Just going over all of our picks that we made here as a team for the first round. So be sure to check that out, see where we were right, where we were wrong, and yeah, we're really happy to have all those guys writing for us. We also have Pete. Pete's been writing articles for us here as of lately as well. Not more on like a weekly consistent basis, but he's been plugging in some articles here and there. He really actually just recently did an article kind of surrounding the NHL playoffs that are going on right now as we speak that I was kind of mentioning there with the heated questions earlier. So be sure to check that out. A lot of these guys have been giving a lot of great details and a lot of great insights on a lot of different areas surrounding the sports world. So again, we'll look to make that a segment, me kind of just highlighting a lot of the overall articles that are happening. Again, this is kind of just going to be a little bit of a shorter episode, kind of highlighting how the show's going to look from here on out. But again, yeah, all those articles are going to be linked on our website on the homepage, and you can just go to the blog tab on our website as well. www.heated-sports.com to check all those out. They're all categorized by sports as well, so if you have a specific sport that you're interested in, more interested in than others, you can definitely check those out. And we'd love to hear any feedback you guys would have, positives, negatives, really anything. I mean, we're excited to kind of keep this thing rolling, especially now we're all college students. Summer's coming up. We're going to kick this thing into high gear starting next week. We're really excited to put a lot of time and effort into this whole heated sports thing. So again, any feedback you guys have, any comments, we're all ears. We're happy to hear it. So we're going to take a short break here. We're going to get our basketball guy. We're going to get Harrison on here. Honestly, we're just going to get started, and we're going to talk about why I'm really starting to lose a lot of respect for the Houston Rockets. They've been in the news lately, and it's really not about their basketball play against the Warriors. So we're going to talk about that and just kind of getting started and just starting to analyze what all's going on in the NBA playoffs right now. There's a lot of craziness happening in the second round, so we're going to get a lot of details. We're going to get Harrison in on here and get his thoughts on all of it. So we'll be right back, guys. All right, guys, we are back. We got Harrison in the studio with us, our NBA guy over at Heated Sports. So we're happy to have you back, man. And like I teased a few minutes ago, I'm just really losing a lot of respect for the Houston Rockets, and I'm just going to kind of get right into it and get my thoughts, and then I just want to hear what you have to say about it afterwards.
Oh, yeah.
they're just they're the new petty team in the NBA. Like they're dwelling on the past. A report came out earlier last week that they pretty much just had an NBA audit. Essentially, they had people investigate their Game 7 against the Warriors last year. Report came out that 18 points was taken away from them, essentially from calls/no calls. So the Houston Rockets clearly still have Game 7 from last year against the Warriors in the back of their minds. They're still extremely upset about it, and for some unknown reason, seems like they're more focused on that, more focused on the refs than they are at actually beating the Warriors in this series.
Yep.
Like I'm comparing it to like you see on social media, you got that like couple that breaks up, right? Breaks up out of nowhere. Maybe we don't know the issues, but for some reason, 6 months later, a year later, someone is still subtweeting the other, and like that's pretty much exactly what's going on right here. Like they lost. They played an ugly game. Like probably should not have won that game, no matter what calls were made or what calls were not made.
Yeah.
And for some reason, they're still just completely freaked out about it. Completely just not over it in any sense of the word. So I mean, I don't get why this is coming out. Obviously, I don't think they intended for this to get out, but it's out. There's just been so many other comments about them with the NBA officials just completely, basically just blaming it on them, which I cannot stand for the life of me. I mean, it's just like newsflash to everybody. Like these guys are human beings, and also newsflash, like they're not doing any of this on purpose. Like it's a lot more tough in basketball. Like you see in football and you see in baseball. I'll just bring up two other major sports. There's clearly calls that should be overturned. There's calls that shouldn't be made, but those two have instant replay, especially in baseball now recently. It's very easy to reverse some pretty obvious calls, whereas in basketball, it's a lot tougher. But looking at basketball, it's so much more fast-paced. It's just so much more tough to keep up with. There's going to be mistakes here and there, and again, these guys are not doing any of this on purpose. So for the Houston Rockets to be making that many like subtle comments, just looking back into the past, over a year or about a year it's been since the Game 7 against the Warriors, like just get over it. Like play better. Like this team has the tools to compete against the Warriors, and they're just not doing it. And clearly their focus isn't all on beating the Warriors like it should be. Like I don't know what's going on. Like what do you make of any of this, dude? Like what is going on with the Houston Rockets?
I specifically look at the end of Game 1. I remember after the game, James Harden goes off and says, "All I want is a chance." But if you look at his very last shot he took when they were down by 3 with whatever seconds were left, he took a 3, kicked his legs out, and the shot was off, hit the side of the rim, wasn't even close. Okay, like if you are not comfortable
that is
with
a shot.
way,
he has a shot to win the game right there, and he
to tie it. But
to tie the game, and that's the decision, and that's the shot that he takes.
If you're not comfortable with the way the refs are calling the game, like just take the shot normal. Don't kick your legs out, because he clearly sacrificed the integrity of that shot by kicking his legs out to try to get the foul.
Yeah,
he could have easily gone straight up, and the shot would have been a lot more accurate. But he chose to put the game in the ref's hands by doing that. And he shanked the shot, wasn't close. Then there was a debatable foul on the sideline.
Yeah.
But point in case, if you're going to complain about the refs, don't put it in their hands.
Yeah, exactly.
Daryl Worley was the one who summoned the audit on Game 7 of last year. Like, dude, if you think your team is good enough to win this year, why are you still worrying about last year?
There's no need whatsoever to be dwelling on the past like that. That's actually a great point you brought up, because I mean that's just listening to other sports shows, sports radio throughout the week, like that. They brought up a good point. Like, that's an integral part of James Harden's game. He's averaging 35 plus points, I think, for the regular season. He's easily attempting and making the most foul shots out of any other player in the league. That's a huge part of his game, is intentionally drawing fouls, getting to the free throw line, and it's clear that he was more focused on getting that versus actually finding just a good shot to tie up the game. Exactly. And I mean that's all well and good. Yeah, you're going to get to the free throw line, but like if you're in Game 1 of this huge series, winning Game 1 is huge for whatever team comes out on top. And you're in that type of situation. You're James Harden. You're still one of the best shooters in the league. Find an open shot. Find a shot that actually you can make. Exactly what you said. Don't put it in the ref's hands to make that call and get you to the free throw line. Because I mean, if we're being honest, he gets the call. He's making the free throws. But just find an open shot. And if it's not you, if for some reason you're just that covered, find someone else that's open. You have to trust your teammates enough. I mean, yes, it should be in his hands, but if the situation's not there, if the right opportunity's not there, then dish it off to somebody else who's most likely open if it's not there for Harden. Like, I just don't everything. I just don't get any of it that we've been talking about.
I see a Harden who's afraid of his playoff legacy being damaged forever.
Well, it already is. I mean, yeah, he needs to make up for like the past playoff performances, because especially in that Game 7 last year. It just was
they
not
shot
there.
like 0 for 20 something start of the game from 3. Like they were hideous.
Yeah.
if I'm starting to think maybe Harden's just a regular season player because he
It
gets
seems
all these
like it.
ticky-tacky fouls. Like guys can't touch him. Guys will D up Harden with their hands like up or behind their back because you
Yeah.
can't touch him. In the playoffs, the refs call the games different. They let the guys play some defense. They let them budge and grab a little bit more.
They're
than
letting
they
the
usually do.
players play in the
And
playoffs.
Harden can't adapt. He's not showing up.
You wouldn't think that it's that hard of an adjustment to make. Like he's been
Yeah.
in the playoffs enough now where like you need to realize that this is how it is. And I'm not gonna compare him to Russell Westbrook yet. But I
No.
mean,
Yeah.
it's like, but in the playoffs, it's like they just for some reason don't know how to make adjustments. And I mean, yes, Harden has a lot more like standout performances compared to Westbrook, who consistently has been struggling. But
Yeah,
I
he's
mean,
been bad.
when Harden's off, like he's off, and it just
0 for 15 against Utah.
yeah, being one of like the best like offensive players of all time, not even in the NBA right now, like you need to learn how to make those adjustments in the playoffs. And when you're playing
yeah.
a team like the Warriors, if you can't make adjustments, you're not gonna make it out of the series. You're not gonna win a game. Like it's tough. I mean, they're down 0-2. They're going into Houston now, but they might steal one game at home here, but the way they're playing right now, their minds are not solely focused on winning these games. I mean, they're clearly in a bunch of different mindsets
They're
right now.
very
and
distracted.
yeah, it's I don't know, man. What do you think? Like, am I being too harsh? Like, do you think they can
No,
still compete
not at
down
all.
0-2?
Not
or
at all. I think that they win Game 3. Then I think
take game 3 at home.
take Game 3 at home. And then Golden State takes Game 4, takes Game 5 back
Yeah.
in Golden State. Because I see a huge stylistic issue with Houston, whereas they rely a lot, like very heavily on that James Harden ISO game.
Yeah, 100%.
And Golden State is locking him down. If you like watch his possessions when he has the ball to start possessions, he'll dribble out like half the clock, not gain any kind of momentum towards the rim or any kind of space on the 3-point line. They're up on him close, and a lot of time he's settling for these terrible shots from behind the arc, or he's kicking it out to somebody else with like no time left to be able to do anything with it. And then with Golden State, they're just much more superiorly talented. They spread the ball out. Their offense flows a lot more than versus Houston's like stagnant offense. They
Yeah.
don't move the ball.
I'll say, and it just
And
seems like
that's
they have the game plan like for
Yeah.
Houston, and like it's working. And
It is.
not saying that Houston didn't have a game plan, but if you see that it's not working, and especially on offense, your offensive game plan isn't working. Chris Paul isn't showing up to like nearly what he probably should be in this series.
Yeah,
like,
he's 34.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
34,
just-
35. He's
yeah.
aging.
You got to make adjustments, and you got to make them sooner rather than later. But
With Houston, yeah, if Harden's not hitting that ISO 3-pointer, the step back, their whole offense is compromised.
Exactly,
And he's not
yeah.
hitting it. Plain and simple.
yeah. So transitioning a little bit, and speaking of making adjustments, these two teams made some pretty amazing adjustments from game 1 to game 2. I'm looking at the Bucks and I'm looking at the Blazers.
Yeah.
In both cases for game 1, I mean, pretty surprising. The Celtics dominated the Bucks in that first game in Milwaukee. Pretty similar to the Nuggets going against the Blazers. I mean, I wouldn't say they dominated game 1, but they definitely surprised a lot of
No.
people. They
Yeah,
shut
they
down.
did. I
They
didn't
shut
think they were
down
gonna
their.
win that.
I'll say I didn't think so either. They shut down their offense a little bit. Complete turnarounds in game 2 for both teams. I mean, the Bucks completely. They just look like a different team from what I watched.
They
Like,
did.
They didn't rely on Giannis, which I think was a great game
Yeah.
plan and a great adjustment for them. I mean, they distributed the ball. Middleton was in a lot more than he was, or that he was in game 1. I think he got a lot more like cleaner shots, a lot more opportunities, and
he did.
He took advantage of them. I mean, they spread the ball out a lot more, and I mean, I was a little nervous. I mean, you've been hyping up the Celtics a lot on previous episodes.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think? I mean, I'm not saying that like the series is over by any means. Both are at 1-1, but I mean, what do you think of your Celtics, dude? Like, do you think they'll turn it around or make some more adjustments on game 3?
I mean, yeah, I picked the Celtics in the series, as I said. I don't know what to make of this series because you have game 1 when Boston blew out Milwaukee. Then you have game 2 when Milwaukee blew out Boston. So it's kind of a tale of adjustments at this point. I think I don't really know what to make of this.
I'll say
'cause
this
there's
is-
no consistency yet.
Yeah.
I think the first team to show any kind of consistency is going to be the one to win this series.
Definitely.
I think Boston holds a slight edge because they now own home court. They're going back to Boston where they're tough to beat. I don't know. I mean, I've seen a tale of 2 different games here because in game 1, Irving balled out, and then so did the rest of his supporting cast. Gordon Hayward looked great. And then game 2, Jason Tatum didn't show up at all. Gordon Hayward didn't show up at all.
Tatum's been quiet like both
yeah,
games
he's not the
this
same guy
series.
he
It's
was
just-
last year.
Yeah, not at all in playoff time. For
Irving,
sure.
I think, shot 4 for 18 in game 2.
No, yeah, Kyrie.
Something
When
really
Ky-
bad?
it's kind of similar like to the other series. Like Kyrie didn't play well in game 2, and it's just like the rest of the team follows
Yeah,
in that.
exactly.
Like
It's-
you have to like that's where like yeah, like star power is great, especially in the NBA. Like having like those 1 or 2 key stars can really carry a team. But
Yeah.
come playoff time, if that supporting cast isn't what it needs to be or playing what it needs to, it doesn't matter if the star players are going off or not. Like you're just not going to perform well and win games in the playoffs.
Yeah, so I mean, I think we've seen both sides of Boston. I think Game 2 was a representation of what they looked like in
Yeah.
the regular season. Game 1 is a representation of what they can be. I don't know if they can hold it up through this whole series. Like I said, like these 2 games haven't really
Who's
told
that?
us anything.
Boston or Milwaukee?
Boston be able to hold
yeah.
up what they did in Game 1. Like I said, the first 2 games don't really show us much. We've seen the best and worst of
Yeah.
both teams. I think games 3 and 4. I think after that, we're gonna know who's gonna win this series.
For
I think
sure.
if Boston can pull it together and look consistent for game 3 and 4, I think they can win the series still. I think if Milwaukee splits it 2-2, I think Milwaukee definitely holds the advantage, obviously with home court.
Oh yeah.
But I think they kind of found something in game 2. They were challenging game 1. I think unlike they have this whole postseason, game 2 might have just been them finally stepping up, taking on a good team like they should.
Exactly. I'll say that. Yeah. Again, just making the adjustments and completely turning things around. Yeah, like both that series and I'll go back to the Blazers series. Just complete 180s in terms of teams like just playing lackluster offense and defense and just kind of showing out and being the team that they should be in these playoffs. So
I think Portland in game 1, they even admitted that they were too focused on like what the referees were calling. They let it get in their head. It looked so much different than they did against Oklahoma City, when they had complete focus
Just
on
all-
nothing but
and just-
playing their best basketball.
and just the confidence, like just having
Yeah.
that confidence in their shots. And I mean, they were all just playing lights out as a team. So I mean, that was great. But yeah, I mean, they need to find that spark again. I mean, they came out like on top in game 2.
I liked what I
but-
saw in game 2.
I'll say so did I, but I mean, I definitely think it still doesn't look like the team from that first series. I mean, I definitely think they can turn it up. I mean, again, they were lights out in that first series, so it's tough to keep that up for an entire postseason. But I
100%.
definitely think if Dame can come back and just get back to that first round Damian Lillard, like that, this team's again, like we've mentioned in previous weeks, like this team can be unstoppable if they play like
Lillard's
that.
smaller showing, which still is 19 points. That's no
That's
that's no gimme. I almost kind of liked it because without Lillard scoring 30, 40 points, whatever it was, the rest of the team showed up.
I was gonna
Enes
say
Kanter showed up.
that's where the supporting cast comes in.
Who else had? I think Al-Farouq Aminu had 15 as well. So Kanter and him both had 15. McCollum had 20. He had 19. Like this was a good balanced attack. It shows an ability to adapt, to be able to win in different ways besides Lillard and McCollum just going lights out from 3.
Yeah, for sure.
On a night where they're not 100%, they show the ability to have other guys step up,
Definitely.
which I think was big for me to see. That sold me a little bit more on Portland than I think I did even with Oklahoma City. I think it shows they definitely have an advantage over Denver because if you see like Jokic is always going to play well. I think he's played well every game this postseason.
Oh my, yeah. he's
If
just
Gary
been lights
Harris
out.
doesn't show up, that team is in trouble. Their supporting cast seems to be a little bit less dependable than Portland. So I
Yeah,
still think I
and
like what I
that's-
see from them.
And that's crazy because before the season started, I wouldn't have said that. Because I mean, yeah, in that first series, it was just completely the 1-2 punch of McCollum and Lillard. But now we're seeing the supporting cast kind of show that hey, we're a part of this team too. We're why
Yeah.
this team got a 3 seed, and yeah, like we're here to we're like gonna make a run out of this. And they all showed up. And I mean, I hope that they can keep that consistent because yeah, it's great to have 2 guys like that, 2 great shooters where you can rely on that. But I mean, at the same time, if you can rely on that supporting cast, I mean this team's gonna be dangerous for sure.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, so I mean, I'm excited to see those 2 series. Again, right now as it sits, they're both tied 1-1. But I mean, again, throughout the weekend, we'll get a little bit more details of what the outcomes are going to be. But we'll transition to the team that a lot of people watching are probably interested in. And yeah, we're going to talk about the Sixers here a little bit. Again, similar to Boston, they're going to cut out. They're going to basically take care of home court, and we'll see how they do that. But we're just going to take a short break, and we'll give a lot of details about this Sixers and Raptors series. So we'll be right back here, guys. All right, yeah, so those 2 series are tied 1-1 right now, but I mean, over the weekend, hopefully we'll get a little bit more insight on who we think is going to come out on top on those series, but we'll transition here to the Philadelphia 76ers, the teams that a lot of people watching are probably following more, very interested in.
Here we go.
They pulled out Game 2. They impressed me because after seeing that Game 1 performance, both the lackluster performance by the Sixers and just the dominating performance by Kawhi, like I was extremely nervous, but
Everyone was.
They surprised everybody in Game 2. Have the advantage now coming to Philly for Games 3 and 4.
Yep.
Game 3 airing tonight. What do you think, man? I mean, that Game 2 pretty much rejuvenated the entire Philly fan base. So, are you excited? Do you have some hope still, or I mean, do you think it's going to be tougher than what people are making it out to be?
we have a blueprint to win. Okay, in game 1, after that, we looked hideous. Game 2, like, we have a way to win the series.
Yeah.
We D'd up Embiid on Siakam, and we put Ben Simmons on Kawhi. And by no means did he shut him down, but
You
it
just have to
definitely neutralized him a little bit,
slow
slow him down.
Yeah.
Toronto, they weren't hitting their shots, and we were. I mean, I love it. We
of course.
definitely have figured out a way that we can control the series. Going back to Philly, we have home court.
Yeah, stealing one of those 2 games I think was huge because
Yeah.
that just gives the team and the fan base like, hey,
confidence.
we can compete with this team. Like I'm pretty sure no one really picked them or expected them to beat this Raptors team.
No.
Just with the amount of depth that the Raptors have, you have Kawhi just playing lights out. So I mean, you're just like, yeah, like they have hope now. They have home court, like you said. Like they have all the confidence in the world that they can take this series away.
How about
and
our
upset
bench,
everybody.
man? How about
Dude,
Greg
just
Monroe coming in here, having some big
out of
offensive
nowhere,
rebounds?
yeah.
James Ennis
I'll say
showing up, putting up
Ennis
some
and Mike,
points.
Ennis and Mike Scott like
Yeah.
hitting some shots. I mean, I love it. I mean, it's great to see everybody contributing, even if it's
Exactly.
just on defense. I mean, yeah, not everybody's going to
Effort.
be hitting like crazy shots, but showing that effort, especially in Philly, the crowd's going to eat that up. Like if some if some of like the lower name guys are hitting some shots, playing some hard defense, like it's going to be great.
That's all we can ask out of
the
them,
atmosphere is
you
going
know?
to be insane. I'm excited for it.
rocking.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, Jimmy Bucket showed up big to close out that
He's
game, man.
he's impressed me because I've always been a little bit of like a Jimmy Butler hater.
Yeah.
I'm not totally on board of giving him a max deal if that would be the case to keep him in Philly after this season. But I mean, if he keeps
That's
this
a
up
debate
in the
for another
playoffs,
time.
I mean
Yeah.
he's gonna change my mind on that pretty quick. I think the combination of him and Ben Simmons rotating on Kawhi in Game 2 was just perfect. I mean Ben
worked a lot better.
Yeah, I mean Ben's a great defender, but yeah, like it's tough for anybody to guard Kawhi for an entire game. So I mean, getting Jimmy in there too, he played some great defense on him. Again, you really can't shut down Kawhi, but we mentioned that last week, like previewing the series. The key is going to be to slow down Kawhi. They have a great supporting cast around them, but I mean, so do the Sixers. The Sixers starting 5 is one of the best in basketball. So if you can slow down their obvious superstar, like their clear number 1, I mean, any team's going to be beatable if that's the case.
I think a big breath that I took after game 2 was like seeing that Brett Brown could make an adjustment.
Oh my God!
Because I think everyone in Philly is like has absolutely no faith in Brett Brown. I mean, after seeing what happened against Boston last year,
Yeah.
I mean, Boston pretty much just put up a wall around the paint, knowing Ben Simmons can't shoot.
This
and
was
Brett like didn't adjust whatsoever.
This was a make or break year, and I'll
Yeah.
even say this was a make or break series. Like if the Sixers just came out just completely dead and got swept, or maybe just won one game, like Brett Brown would be on the hot seat, I think. And that's kind of weird saying, seeing like how great of a market Philly is, and like how good the Sixers have been in the regular season, getting a 3 seed this year. But
It's all about playoff production.
exactly, I mean, you got to perform in the playoffs. You got to make something happen. You have this team. You've made these type of moves, getting Butler and Tobias Harris. I mean, you put this lineup together. You need to do something with it in the postseason. And I mean, so far he's been doing that. So I'm not going to knock him yet. Again, series is only tied 1-1 as of right now. So we'll see how it plays out the rest of
I
the way.
am
but-
really happy with how that went. I mean, this was a series after game 1. Like, a lot of analysts were saying this is going to be a sweep. This is going to be 4-1. Philly has no chance.
Exactly.
Here we are. It's tied up. We're going back to Philly. I'm loving it. I would still like to see Ben Simmons be more assertive. I've said that now in like the past 2 articles
We,
I've
just
written.
we need another Dudley, dude. We just need someone to light a fire on.
Honestly,
and
it's
get
just
something rolling.
A lot of fast breaks. You see Ben like get inside the 3-point arc, driving to the hoop, and he'll like flip it off in a situation where this is like a big dude. He's what, 6'10"?
Yeah, I think it's 6'9", 6'10".
6'10", yeah, and like he's got tremendous ability inside. I want to see him take it up instead of flipping it off to somebody else on
Exactly.
the side.
I mean, and it's tough because as soon as he starts to drive, the attention's gonna go to him, and they're gonna cover him.
It all
But
crashes.
he's still good enough. He can keep it and take it up to the basket. He doesn't have to dish it out every single time. It's just it's a matter of the aggressiveness in that sense. Because I mean, again, he's not the best free throw shooter, but if he gets to the line a lot, like he'll still put up points. He's improved this year, I think, a good bit on his free throw shooting. But yeah, it's not great. So maybe that is in the back of his mind as well. Try not to draw as many fouls. Give it out to like his several good shooters that are on the court with him at all times. But
his 2K free throw shooting rate is like 61. So like anytime I get to him, like I usually go like 0 for 2. It's frustrating as hell, but
it's frustrating to watch. I mean, it's just, we're still waiting for him to develop that shot. But I mean, right now, I mean, I think it's an exciting time to be a Sixers fan. There's hope. After that game 2, there's definitely hope. So yeah, we're going to leave it at that. That's kind of just a quick analysis of all things happening in the NBA. We'll keep this a regular segment because the playoffs are only going to get greater from here. Harrison, again, love having you on, man. We appreciate
it,
the
man.
articles. Again, shouting him out, guys. Articles are going up. Right now, it's usually every Friday night. Harrison has an NBA playoff article going out. So if you want some more in-depth details, in-depth analysis of what's going on, Make sure you check those out. And yeah, we're gonna close it out there, guys. Shorter show this week, but again, let us know what you think of the new format, kind of just keeping me on there in the beginning and then getting some of the Heated Sports teams on in the back half. Again, articles going out on our website, www.heated-sports.com, and we're very active on our social media, Twitter and Instagram at Heated Sports _. Wow. So yeah, check those out. Again, feel free to interact with us in any way you want. We're always open to feedback, comments, DMs, anything like that. Drop a like on the video. Feel free to subscribe if you've been enjoying the content so far, and we'll be back here next week, guys. So stay tuned and have a good week.
See you guys.
Later.